Thank you, Joe.
I just wanted to put my props down. Thank you very much, folks. You're a terrific audience. Thank you.
This is so cool for me. Joe and I literally worked together almost 30 years ago.
It has been that long.
And several times.
Yes.
Several times. When we had the club in Chattanooga, and then you worked with my buddy Ken Sons up in New York, I think.
Yes,
and
true.
This, that, and the other.
Yep.
And then you moved down here just about a year ago.
No, I've been in Florida for about 9 years now.
9 years?
9 years.
Called me a year ago.
But I was kind of retired.
Oh.
I called you when I wanted to go back to work. I figured you'd be one guy to put a helping hand out and...
What the fuck happened?
What do you mean?
Everything just, the Social Security just dried up? Nothing?
I think I tried to explain it to the crowd. My wife left me.
Oh. That'll do it.
Yeah. And now, are we live now?
Yes. We are live.
Does the crowd realize what's going on?
Yes, they do.
All right, good.
And you can bring the house lights up a little bit there, Brad, and we say hello to everybody.
Oh, good.
Hey, how you doing? Joe, you grew up in New York?
I did. I spent my whole life in New York.
And what part of New York?
I grew up in a little town called Binghamton. Anybody ever hear that?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
They're from there?
No, just
Binghamton, yeah. And then I spent about 8 years in Rochester. Then
Now we're hitting home.
All right, see? Well, and then I did 15 or 16 years on Long Island, and then I did 10 years in Syracuse before I moved here. So.
Did you grow up in a big family?
No, just myself and my sister.
You and your sister?
Yeah.
What does she do?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. If you ever saw Binghamton, New York, you would have done exactly as I did. The minute I graduated high school, I said, I gotta get out of here now. And I left, and I never moved back there. My sister and I talk about once a year, Christmas time. So
did you go to college?
I went to college for theater, a community college.
Oh, okay. Now you got out and didn't go directly. Didn't go directly into comedy at that point in time?
Well, I had been a magician since I was a little kid.
Right.
And I'm talking about I got out of high school in 1970, so it's quite a while ago. And there were no comedy clubs. I was working strip joints, colleges, bars, birthday parties, corporate gigs, anything that was available.
And that was in 1975-ish?
Well, right from I got out of, I had been doing magic shows since I was a little kid. So, so as soon as I got out of college in 1972, I went right to work, and that's all I've ever done.
And when you did the magic show, what was the big finale? What was the blow their mind magic trick?
Well, the thing that I liked about the magic show that I did was I actually am a very good juggler. I legitimately swallow swords. I eat fire. But in the end, at the big finale was we burned a lady alive in a coffin.
This entire crowd feels really cheated right now. You realize that, don't you? They're like, holy shit, we didn't see none of that.
Well.
So you put a woman in a coffin.
Right. Set the whole thing on fire.
Indoors.
Indoors. That was, before the MGM Graham fire and different things like that.
Right.
We would do it on the dance floor in these big, back in the days, the Ramada Inns and the Holiday Inns, they all had big dance clubs in them and all that.
Right.
We would do it in there. But anyway, we had this thing where we sawed the lady in half. I sawed the lady in half every night because I didn't like her whole. It's still a comedy show, isn't it? They were looking a little bored. I thought I'd toss a one-liner in.
It was good. Was this just a volunteer that you would get out of the audience that would get into this coffin?
No. She was part of the show.
Oh, okay.
Part of the ensemble. We called her the Lady of Flames because in the beginning of the show, we would show a box empty and fill it up with swords that were on fire. And when we would take the swords out and open up, there she was. So in the beginning of the show, she would come from flames. At the end of the show, we would send her back to the fumes.
Now, did you ever get a chance to work Vegas or anything like that when you were a magician?
No.
Okay. So there was. Now, what's really interesting, a lot of people might not realize, and Joe just mentioned, is that up until 1980, there was maybe a couple of dozen comedy clubs in the country.
And they were in New York City or L.A.
Okay. And then from 1980 to 1985, all of a sudden, poof, there's like 500 comedy clubs.
Everywhere.
And so was that the moment when you went, this is when to make this turn into these clubs and changed your act?
Well, I got really famous as a magician, and some other comic magicians who had seen me at these magic conventions go, you really got to get into these comedy clubs because dragging all this equipment around, this truck and all these people and everything is not cost effective, and this is where you're going to get discovered. So I got rid of all that nonsense and moved to Long Island and started my career in the comedy clubs and never looked back.
I'll tell you something about comic magicians that I've found. Right now, they're the hardest thing to find for a comedy club. They really are. What I've found is either they're very good magicians and they're not very funny,
right,
or they're really funny and they're not very good magicians. I can't find, and the ones that I do know, like Kozak and Matt King, anybody who's in that is in Vegas,
yep,
or somewhere like that, and you can't touch them. It's like it's a dying art, almost. You don't find it much anymore.
Well, there's very few people who go into magic are any good. They're like hobbyists. They're like kid show performers.
Right.
So very few of them ever break into real show business. That's why.
And now, you've been around, you've played all the clubs, you've started when this whole thing started, and you've seen this industry go up and down.
Right.
Right? And when it was in its heyday, which was the 80s.
And 90s.
And 90s. What was like, can you remember the most awesome experience that was just mind-blowing experience you ever had in a club situation or period?
I'm not going to say in a particular club situation. What was the most mind-blowing would be in New York, having dinner at some restaurant in a back room, and there'd be somebody like a video photographer would be there. There'd be an actor, a playwright, another great comic, yourself, and we'd all sit around and just share ideas. And that was, what really made you feel like you truly had made it. In
the middle of it all.
You're part of it. Yeah, there was so much art and energy, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. And you're a great performer. And I've seen, that's why people were coming here. I was saying Joe can do anything. I mean, you can. You're one of those guys that comes from. I mean, nowadays the comics are like they do one thing. Yeah.
And now it's a point where it's niche comedy, and they're down to looking for just this one little niche that I'm the bald gay comedian.
Right.
I'm the the guy who flies or whatever, right. and that's all they focus on is just that one thing. Whereas you came up in a way where you could do a little bit of everything.
Well, here's the thing, and not to interrupt, but
no, I wish you would, because it was going nowhere.
You're rambling. I know. Yeah. Now here's the thing, and you have a beautiful club here, and you've obviously cultivated the audience. And I mean, it's a Thursday night, and the place is packed. That's beautiful. That doesn't happen in most clubs.
Right.
But last night, my first time here ever, I had an exceptionally good time, and just me and the audience clicked, and right from the minute it was magic. I come on tonight, and it took a few minutes for the crowd to kind of get me a little bit, So instead of being that one note thing that you're talking about,
right,
where the comic just plows through on the one note like it's not working,
right.
I'm more of a mechanic over the years. I go, all right, so maybe if I slow down, maybe if I take the glasses off for a second, maybe if I look at somebody in the eye and see if I can bring them in with me a little. And as it turned out, I think we had a pretty good time, did we not?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't explosive, but it was great.
No, and exactly right, and we all experience that,
yeah.
In working a crowd. I think that something that I see is it's a lot of the celebrity comics are those comics that dedicate themselves to one thing, so that they're identified by that.
Right.
But they live and die by it.
Right.
So lots of times when an audience sees that type of comic, they can turn an audience off, and we've had celebrities do that, turn an audience off, and they're not going to change. If it goes bad, it's going bad, and it's just going to go worse.
Right.
And but in your case, I'm the same way. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how guys stand here and just die and just will stick to that character and do it rather than making the adjustments for the audience.
Not to name any names, but I've and if you're a fan,
let's name names.
If you're a fan, that's fine. If you're not, okay. But I've been in the room when Gilbert Gottfried walked the whole crowd.
I'm going to tell you something. Before he said that, I was going to say Gilbert Godfrey, but then I went, fuck, I don't want to fuck up. But
well, I mean, this is
same thing. If you don't know his style,
he sucks.
Yes, it was not good. It was not.
I've seen 250 people pay $20 a head to come in and see the show, and within 15 minutes, there's 14 people left.
Right. Right. Oh, well, yeah, and our audiences are so nice. When we had Gilbert here, they all stayed, but they didn't want to. I mean, literally, we've had a couple that was the case.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
He's worth millions.
Yes.
And I've got shit.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And it's weird. And that was something that I've told young comics. I go, if you get a character, something you be identified with, and you just have the guts to stick to it, or you're just stupid enough to, whatever it is, to stick to it, then Hollywood, L.A., the movie industry, television knows what to do with you. But when you're a guy like you and I that will make adjustments, it will go with the audience, it'll try to figure out what they want, it's harder to get television.
Yeah.
And that's where sometimes you're a great nightclub comic, but you never get the chance to show it on television. And you should have been on television a lot more than you ever were. And it's good to have you down here.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience at all before we send Joe's going to go over and have his DVDs for sale? Yeah, back there.
Well, I had a great time in the day. I mean, are you from that area? Oh, the East Side Comedy Club on Jericho Turnpike, and there was Governor's in Levittown, and the Brokerage Pub in Bellamore, and well, those were just the greatest times, and the greatest comics came out of there. I mean, Kevin James came out of there, Joey Cola's come out of there, Raymond.
Everybody loves Raymond.
Ray Romano came out of there.
Yeah.
All of us worked together, and it was a great time, and we learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, they're all owned by one guy now, or one little company now. So it's like they eliminated the competition and bought up all the clubs. So.
Anything else? Yes.
I think he struggled at the beginning because you were so good. You were so good.
Oh, well, thank you. Hard had a tough time following me, Joe. That's what he's saying.
What I was thinking was he could have got you warmed up for me. How's that? He didn't do enough time. That was
I buried you. No. What's that? Yeah.
What did I do there? I had the Arigato Japanese Steakhouse on West Henrietta. I had my show in there for 2 years, and I attended bar at the Red Creek, and that's years ago.
And what's my last name? What's my last name? McCurdy. What was the department store in Rochester, New York? McCurdys.
That's right. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yes, it was. Yes. Another question? Is there something back there? No? Yes? Thanks, Joe.
Hey, it was a pleasure.
I appreciate it.
And thank you once again.
Thank you, guys.
You're a great crowd.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A couple of announcements before we get you out of here. And Joe will be right back there with his DVD, which is hilarious. You'll laugh over and over again. Grab it. And Joe was just with us for a couple of nights here. He'll be back. Watch for him. And do you have a website, Joe, or anything like that? JoeDeLion.com.